Now that we know how our project is set up, let's go ahead and add some code to it. The first thing we're going to do is to add a new handler to just render a form that allows users to submit their own event names. I'm going to do that in the event controller. So over in the project pane, let's open up that file. And down at the bottom of the file, let me create some space here. Within the class, I'm going to create a new handler. Let me call this public string. And let me call this render create event form, since that's all it's going to do. And I have some parens and some curly braces, and then within the method, all I need to do is return the name of the template. This is going to be a static view. It's just going to display just an HTML file, just a template with a form. So let's return the name of that template. I'm going to put this, I don't have it created yet, but I'm going to put it in the events folder, and I'm going to call it create. So let's return events/create. Remember that you do not put the file extension when you specify the name of a template in a controller. Also note that this is the template name I put here is events/create. This just specifies that the template is going to be within the events subfolder of the templates directory. Okay, and the final thing I need to specify the routing and request information. So let me call this. Let's make a get request. So I have the get mapping annotation. Within this, I need to give it a route. So I'm going to call this create. So this will live at this method lives at /events, since that is the prefix to all the requests in this controller. I have a request mapping annotation on my class with events. So this lives at /events/create, because recall that request mapping is the prefix, and then anything else that I specify when adding a get mapping, post mapping, etc. will be appended to that prefix. So /events/create is the route I need to get to render this template. Let's go ahead and create the template. Under template events, I'm going to right click and select new at the top and time leaf, and let's call this create.html. And yes, we do want to add this to version control. Let's add a title to our page within the title element up here. And then within the body, I want to create a form. Let's add a heading as well. So create event within h1 as our heading there, and then I need a form. So I need to specify some more information to submit this form. Let me do that after I add my form inputs. I need two inputs here. I need a text box and I need a submit button. So I need a form of input type equals text. And I need a label for this. Remember, the name attribute of a form element gives it a label that's used when submitting the data. And then I need a submit button, so input type equals submit. And then I use the value attribute to specify the text that goes on the button. If you leave that off, it'll just say, I think it just says submit by default, but it's nice to have some customized text there. And that's it. Now on the form, I need to add some information to specify how the form should be submitted. So let me put method equals post. And in the next video, we're going to actually write a handler for this form. This, we can talk about where the handler will live now, because that goes in the action attribute. I can say action equals /events/create. Because I'm going to add a post handler to the same endpoint or to the same route that the form lives at. They're going to be okay living next to each other, though, because one will handle get requests, the other will handle post requests. So the action is /events/create. And just a side note, I could leave this action off entirely because the form and its submission handler will both live at the same route. So you can do it either way. If that happens to be the case when you're making a form, you can just leave off the action attribute and it'll submit to the same event, to the same route rather, that the form was rendered at. Okay, let's go ahead and test this out. So I'll start my application, and once it runs, we'll go over and load our form in a browser. All right, so let me open up a browser window and go to localhost 8080/events/create. Okay, and that did what we wanted to. It made a get request to /events/create, which just returned the HTML from our static time leaf template. And we have a text input and a button here. Now, if you click on this button, nothing, well, something will happen, but not exactly what you expect. If we click on the button now, we're just going to get an error. This is because there's no handler for that route. Remember that this form will, as we can see here, will submit to events/create. It'll make a post request to that endpoint, but we don't have a handler at that endpoint that accepts post requests now, which is why you see this error. This is a 405. We haven't seen 405 HTTP errors very often, but the text here is pretty self-explanatory. Method not allowed. That's referring to the HTTP method. It's saying there does exist an endpoint at events/create. There does exist a handler there, but it does not accept post requests. We're going to add that handler in the next video.